All right. New video, new day. Let's get into it. So, I'm not sure if y'all are aware of Joe Rogan reaching a new deal with Spotify, and I meant to cover this a few days back when there was murmurings about him not him reaching a new deal, but not solely being exclusive on Spotify. But I'm glad I waited because there's been an update really that's probably been like a few days old now. But y'all know me, I like to give y'all a bit of a backstory before we get into the main stuff, and just to show you what was going on back in uh well 2022. What the Joe Rogan podcast controversy says about the online misinformation ecosystem. Of course, this is January 21st, 2022, and author of this article is Shannon Bond. No, I do not want to listen for 4 minutes. I'm so tired of these freaking news sites doing this, man. Stop with the pop-ups. Seriously. I'm not interested in. Sorry. An open letter urging Spotify to crack down on COVID-19 misinformation has gained the signatures of more than 1,000 doctors, scientists, and health professionals, spurred by growing concerns over anti-vaccine rhetoric on the audio app's hit podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah, about that. The medical and scientific experts slammed Rogan's track record of airing false claims about the coronavirus pandemic, vaccines, and unproven treatments, calling it a sociological issue of devastating proportions. Spotify, they say, has enabled him. While audio apps so far have escaped the scrutiny that has befallen social media platforms such as Facebook and Twitter, now which is X, the pressure on Spotify illustrates how podcasts have emerged as an influential source of misinformation. In the December episode of his podcast, Rogan interviewed Dr. Robert Malone, a scientist who worked on early research into the mRNA technology behind top COVID-19 vaccines, but who is now critical of the mRNA vaccines. Malone made baseless and disproven claims, including falsely stating that getting vaccinated puts people who already have COVID at higher risk. Well, that's debatable. No, what we know now. The episode immediately raised an alarm bells for Catron Wallace? Catron, huh? An epidemiologist. I'm sorry, doll. Epidemiologist. I am butchering this, man. Holy cow. At the University of Illinois Chicago School of Public Health, who signed a letter. She is part of a community of experts who debunk medical misinformation on social media, and she says she received hundreds of messages from followers about Rogan's Malone interview. Their friends and family were sending it to them as evidence that the vaccine are dangerous and that they shouldn't get it. She said, it provides a sense of false balance, like there's two sides to the scientific evidence when really there is not. The overwhelming evidence is that the vaccines are safe and that they're effective. Rogan's reach worries health experts. Wallace has particularly worried about Rogan, a stand-up comedian and TV personality, has such a big audience. While Spotify does not disclose how many people listen, his show ranked as the platform's most popular podcast globally for the last 2 years, and he's worth a lot to the company. In 2020, he signed an exclusive licensing deal with Spotify, reportedly worth $100 million. We are in a global health emergency, and streaming platforms like Spotify that provide content to the public have a responsibility not to add to the problem, Wallace said. It wasn't the first time Rogan or his guests have floated dubious or outright false information about the pandemic. He has claimed young and healthy people don't need COVID-19 vaccines. He has promoted taking in ivermectin as a treatment, which the Food and Drug Administration has warned against. Wallace and the other letter signers are not asking Spotify to kick Rogan off this platform, but they want the company to be more transparent about its rules, do more to moderate misinformation, and make it easier to flag these kinds of baseless claims. Okay, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but here. They, false or not, what we know now is that, well, I'm not going to say outright because of this platform being controlled by you know who. So I'm going to get that out of the way. But it's the same thing with this whole weird, just outright ridiculous surge of giving kids puberty blockers and getting them ready for this trans stuff. Why don't we have awareness and stuff like what it does to someone's body when they go under these procedures? Why is it just only they shine the spotlight on one thing and one person and try to make them out as the bad guy? I'm just saying, when they used to say trust the science, and then when you actually respond back with statistics that are just you can't even argue against because they've been researched from like the 90s on up. You know, it's just it's to the point where the information age, you have to be vigilant in what you watch and what you take in, and obviously we're all not perfect, but let's stop with the boogeyman stuff. Let's actually be honest and truthful and how this stuff uh affects us, regardless of it being the C-19 vaccine or the trans stuff or the puberty blockers. Hell, even the most minuscule of uh of treatments. There's always a risk, but when the risk is obviously bigger than it being a help, there's a right to question things, especially with how fast this vaccine came out. Anyway, Spotify declined to comment to NPR. It has previously said it bans dangerous, false, deceptive, or misleading content about C-19 that may cause offline harm and or pose a direct threat to public health. The company says it has taken down 20,000 podcast episodes for breaking that policy since the start of the pandemic. It has also taken down other episodes of Rogan's show, including an interview with conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. But Rogan's Malone interviews is still available. Yeah, see what I mean right there. Exactly what I mean. I just talked about. Last year, Spotify CEO Daniel Ek told Axios that the company does not take responsibility for what Rogan or his guests say. He compared the podcaster to really well-paid rappers on Spotify, saying, "We don't dictate what they're putting in their songs either." Rogan did not respond to NPR's request for comment. I wouldn't respond either. Researchers say scrutiny of podcasts is overdue. Misinformation researchers say it was only a matter of time until the spotlight turned to podcasts. Yeah, said the fact checkers who obviously lied to you. Wherever you have users generating content, you're going to have all the same content moderation issues and controversies that you have in any other space, said Evelyn Doig, a research fellow at Columbia University's Knight First Amendment Institute. So why haven't podcasts gotten the same kind of attention as social networks? For one thing, it's a fragmented medium. Podcasts exist across a lot of different platforms and apps. That's true, but again, when you have the media compromised, you start seeing the message real quick. Doig says it's also hard to ferret out falsehoods and hate speech, and podcasts compare it with posts written on Facebook and Twitter. There's no such thing as hate speech. We got freedom of speech. Seriously, stop that communist bullshit. Seriously. But audio can be a powerful way to spread misinformation because of all the qualities that make the format so compelling to listeners, said Valerie Richafter. Damn, where is with these names, man? A senior data analysis at the Brookings Institution. The podcaster is in your ear. She said it's a really unique relationship in that respect, and so the podcaster gains a level of authority and a level of credibility among listeners. I don't know about the authority part, but the credibility, it depends. Just like a talk show, radio talk show host. You know, did, did I say it right? Anyway, uh, Rich Shafter says as more people become aware of how information is spread online, audio deserves the same scrutiny of social media. She has studied how the big lie that the 2020 presidential election was stolen from Donald Trump spread on political podcasts in lead up to the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. I'm not going to comment about that. She found that half the episodes of the most popular shows released between Election Day and January 6, 2021 contained misleading or false claims about voter fraud and election integrity. We're not talking about fringe ideas, she said. They are the most popular podcasts in the United States. Oh, I wonder why. All right, so that's it for that article. I'm going to get into this one from Valuetainment. And honestly, I think I should just do more of Valuetainment's articles. Hopefully, they don't try to give me a pop up like, "Oh, sign up now, and get all our." No, I'm cool, man. But so far, I like what I've been a fan of theirs for a good while. I mean, Joe Rogan reached his new Spotify deal worth up to $250 million, which previously that deal was $100 million. Now it's $250 million. So yeah, he's making them money. And this was 4 days ago. Author is Shane Devine. I don't know. Streaming service Spotify has reportedly formed a new deal with world-renowned podcaster Joe Rogan, estimated to be worth up to $250 million. The multi-year partnership deal will apparently allow Rogan to reach a broader audience through expanded attention to distribution. The deal is said to include an upfront minimum guarantee in addition to an agreement to share revenue based on sales generated from advertisements. So we got a post from Spotify on X at Joe Rogan, the Wrapped top podcaster 4 years in a row has just announced a new multi-year partnership with Spotify. The Joe Rogan Experience debuted in 2009, has been a Spotify exclusive since 2020, and we're just getting started. I mean, this guy's literally like the grandfather or father of podcasts. Oh, it's also is it? No, that's just a picture. Spotify will sell ad space for Joe Rogan Experience, JRE for short, across multiple podcasting platforms, including YouTube, as opposed to the previous deal in which Spotify held exclusive uploading rights over JRE. Cool conversations are a kind of mental nourishment, Rogan said about his show in a Spotify blog post announcement. Such content, in his mind, encourage people to have their similar conversations with their friends, and it just generally makes life more interesting. True. JRE remains podcasting's king, Spotify wrote, consistently ranking as the most listened to podcast globally, and our users have ranked the show as Spotify's Wrapped top podcast each year since 2020. They added that Joe put together a Green Room music playlist to celebrate the partnership update. When we set up the comedy mothership, we installed a killer sound system in the Green Room, and whenever someone introduces me to something cool, it makes it on the list. Joe explained, adding that it is partially inspired by comedian Dave Chappelle. Spotify stock experienced a roughly 2% bump following the announcement. I mean, damn. Yeah, and here's the proof for it if y'all are watching. Yeah, dude. This development is part of a broader trend in Spotify strategy. It is currently reworking its deals with a number of shows to now grant them the right to distribute their content more widely. The tech giant hopes to see greater returns through audience maximization and ad sales by revoking its previous exclusivity stipulations. Spotify decided to spend $100 million to acquire JRE in 2020 as a way to rapidly scale its podcast portfolio. The vast deal featured an agreement to pay Joe based on audience metrics, which is poised to earn him between $180 and $220 million when it ends this year. In November of 2023, there were rumors that Rogan was set to break away from Spotify amid its various cost-cutting schemes and other disagreements. many believe that Rogan and Spotify would part ways due to Stockholm-based companies suffering over $1 billion in losses on various celebrity podcast deals. These there were also speculation that Rogan might join with Elon Musk's X, as the platform had recently acquired Tucker Carlson's show. So that's it right there. And I believe he actually did join X with that, since it's no longer exclusive. I mean, since the show is no longer exclusive on Spotify. But yeah, man, this is an interesting read. I mean, definitely a shift of what I kind of want to do, as in like not always focus on like gaming or stuff like that, but entertainment as a whole, regardless of podcasts or whatever the latest news is. And I hope you all enjoy this video, because I mean, it just getting the word out there, y'all. Like what's going on. You know, always constantly learning stuff. I mean, that's what we should do, especially when we can put into certain perspectives. So I think that's all it for now. I think what's today? Oh yeah. So when this goes up, it'll be Wednesday for y'all. So you know, y'all have a great Wednesday, and I'll see y'all later. Ciao.